video number 2. I'm going to try and do 3 of these. You can see the exhaust is always kept. The muffler that was on it when I got it was rotted out, and I just happen to have a stack at the shop. I would definitely put a muffler on it. One of my guys loves running it with a straight pipe. It's too loud for my opinion with a straight pipe. The dozer was missing this panel when I purchased it. It was going to be one of my long-term plans to just fabricate a new panel, have one of my fabricators do that for me. Just never got around to it. But you can see the control valve is good and tight. Looking down here at the bottom, you can see it's good, dry, and dusty. There's nothing in there leaking. The control valve's dry all the way around, which is what you want. I don't know if you can see down the top of the transmission, but again, everything's pretty much dry down there. The push blades, again, this dozer, it's got a little bit of age on it. Nothing is bad loose. I mean, if you push up against a tree, you'll see the blade move back on the trunnions a little bit, but it's roughly a 6,500 hour machine, give or take, and the wear and the blade trunnions match, you know, the age of the machine, right about, you know, I'd say 6,500 hours, give or take. There's nothing bad loose. Again, it's a good, strong pusher dozer. Hop up on the operator's platform. Everything is correct up here in original. I'm going to try and just pan around, take a decent picture. Just because, again, I'm a maintenance freak, I keep the hydraulic tank and the fuel tanks locked, because I've seen plenty of good equipment ruined because somebody put nasty stuff in the fuel tank. The seat is not in bad shape. That's probably something, if you're going to be on it for a while, you can buy the seat pieces off eBay, but the seat's not in bad shape. It's completely functional. Everything for the dozer blade controls are good and tight. You know, you've got your tilt is left and right, forward and reverse, or up and down. Float position is the detent in the center. Transmission dipstick is back here. In January this year, when we first got the dozer, we fully serviced it, and we did put in new trans fluid. We use Shell Rotella T4 15W40. Some people will tell you got to use the case Hy-Tran these dozers, but I've got a fair amount of experience with them, and anybody will tell you that nowadays they're running just straight Rotella in them. The C4 spec and Rotella T4 by far meets and exceeds any of the case Hy-Tran specs, including the oil shedding properties. Everything is complete on the dozer. All the panels are there. I'll open this in a second. In the next video, when I get the keys, I'll do a cold start video. The gauge closure does work. I keep it locked because I've got new gauges in there. Everything works. The shifter is good on the dozer. The parking brakes function on the dozer, and the steering works fine as well. One thing I've had to do, and I'll point this out, I'm primarily the only person that runs this particular dozer. I do have one other guy that works for me, and he complained about the steering when he initially ran it. And a lot of people don't know how to run these older dozers. Remember, on Internationals have an oil clutch system, so on the steering clutches, so it's not like a Komatsu where the clutches are constantly getting rusted out and sticking. But a lot of people don't remember on these dozers, or a lot of people have never ran the older ones, when you pull the lever, the first part of the lever is clutch, which means the dozer is going to slowly start to go in that position. To pivot the dozer, you need to pull back firmly and go into the brake. And you can basically feel it. Clutch, 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 brake. The easiest way I tell people to think of it is, think of clutch controls which way you're going. Brake controls the rate of turn. So if you pull to the left, the dozer's going to slowly ease to the left. If you need to pivot, you need to actually come back and engage the brake. And then, so pull the lever, that changes the direction of travel. Engage the brake, and that changes the rate of travel. So direction of travel, rate of travel. I've seen people get in these old dozers and say they don't steer. No, you got to know how to steer them. You probably already know this, but direction of travel, rate of travel. Same thing on the other side. The sheet metal's not all banged up. The rollover protection system's decent. Somebody's laid something over it at some point in time because it's got a bow that goes from side to side, but all the hardware is there. I'm assuming the limb risers were probably custom built because they built in a stack guard into the limb riser as well. I'm going to stick my finger out, that's what I'm talking to right there. But everything on the dozer is pretty clean, pretty operational. Again, we've used it out here. I bought this as a backup tractor and I need to clear this piece of land. This is from my shop. And you know, it'd been sitting at the shop. We'd fixed the fuel issues on it. It was running good, so we hauled it out here. And it has done fine out here. And we've also, there's another about 4-acre lot about a quarter mile behind me that we cleared for a customer with it earlier this summer. And this dozer has given us 0 issues. The only issue with it was when the operator, myself, backed over a little sweet gum sprig in the ground, and I broke that steering booster line. And it's one of those things, I was watching myself, and as soon as I did it, as soon as I backed up, I knew what I had done and immediately shut the tractor down. Like I said, there's 45 gallons of new transmission fluid in here, 45 gallons of T4 Rotella, and it may be lost, you know, a half gallon, you know, in the 30 seconds. Overall, good tractor. Remember, I'll show you this on your throttle. All the way forward, kills it. Generally, I start in the middle position. I may actually mark these for you. Generally, to crank, I start in the middle position. And remember, on these old Internationals, and you can watch some of the videos to confirm this, with the 466 in it, these things idle high and they run high. These dozers are great old dozers. They're super reliable, but they do like to push their guts out. So generally, if I'm pushing trees down the hill or if I'm pushing a stump, I generally run it wide open or one click off wide open. And if you want to travel with any decent speed, you're going to run the dozer 3/4 throttle to full throttle most of the time. That's just the way these things run. Nothing wrong with them. That's the way they're made, and they do great at it. These old International dozers with the 466 in them, I like them over the Cummins. They push their guts out, and they last for forever. So I'm going to go step down and get the keys, and I'll do a cold start, let it warm up, show you the gauges, and I'll try and move it around a little bit for you. One other thing I will point out is when I show you the gauges, I replaced some of the gauges in this dozer just because this one had some of the old International, what I call no-go gauges, you know, where it either shows you red or green, so you really can't see your vitals. You know it's running cool, but you don't know if you're running 180 or 210. So I did replace some of the gauges with, you know, actual standard gauges so I could see what I was running. The temperature gauge I did replace, and I actually replaced it twice because I didn't think it was working the first time. And I had to shoot the motor with the heat gun. But on the hottest day, and there has been one Saturday that we were well into the 90s, and we pushed this dozer on an 8-hour shift. This dozer never ran over 180 degrees. The tractor never ran over 180 on the hottest day. Normally it runs between 160 and 180, which is par for course on these motors. The transmission oil runs on the hottest day, will run dead in the middle. It will not get any hotter. And the clutch oil pressure, which on these older transmissions, because basically what this is a copy of an Allison pretty much. The power shift setup, the clutch oil pressure never drops. Shifting gears, you'll see it bounce the needle for just a second, which is what you should see. You know, anytime you change pressure in the transmission, the needle will bounce. But the transmission oil clutch pressure gauge runs dead in the middle, which basically tells you you've got a very healthy transmission. And again, the transmission in this dozer was painted on the top. I assume that was just to spruce it up. But when we had the belly pans out of it in the spring, the entire transmission has been painted. Again, I'm going to stick my phone in here. You're probably not going to see it. Hell, I can't get to it. But I've got a picture on my other phone. If you take the fiberglass cowl off that covers the gauges, there is a Avreva engine tag on the back of that head. Avreva is a fairly common engine rebuilder. They've been around for a long time. Based off the style of the stickers, I assume when they went to that sticker, it was about 2008. So I'm guessing the motor and transmission were done 07, 08, or 09. And I'm assuming they probably did the transmission when they did the motor on the dozer. So I'm going to step off, reset, and I'll hop back on here with the keys, open up all the panels, and we'll do a cold start, let her warm up and run it around for a little bit.